I came across a drifting ship. I took a look inside. I found a note that someone wrote that said, take her for a ride. I set a course for sights unseen, went out to open sea. To my surprise, a bunch of sailors joined along with me. Now we're sailing on the mystery ship, and all the sailors here are really hip. There isn't any cost of membership. All you gotta do is join our trip. Yeah, I'm the captain of the mystery ship, and I'm a-calling all aboard this ship. I'm really hoping that you'll enjoy it up on the mystery ship. So bring a friend and come along with us aboard the mystery ship.
Welcome, welcome, welcome aboard of the Mystery Ship, a Friday night edition. A Friday night edition of the Mystery Ship with your brother, Zoso Dude 77. Where the hell is he? He's supposed to be around here somewhere. Truly. Is that him? That's him. That's him. How's it going, people? I hope that all of you had just an absolutely wonderful Christmas. Ours was splendid. I had contemplated possibly broadcasting that night, Christmas Eve night. It turns out my daughters came over, and I don't know what my problem was. I really don't know what my problem was, but from Christmas Eve going into Christmas Day, I couldn't sleep to save my life. I was up most of the night. Really caused me to have a kind of a bothersome Christmas. I took several naps during the day, but I still managed to get all the presents wrapped and everything set where it should be, and we had a wonderful time. During the middle part of the day, we had an early dinner with Paula's family, and then later on in the evening, my girls came over, and a good time was had by all. It was wonderful. I hope that yours was equally as wonderful. I hope you all got what you deserved and no lumps of coal in your stocking or anything. I thought it was phenomenal that my dear brother Ronnie found it in him to play both versions of the Foxhole Charlie Brown Christmas. I don't know how many of you remember it, but when Better Lately first came on the scene over at the Foxhole, he reached out to a bunch of the content creators, myself included, and had us read parts from A Charlie Brown Christmas. And then he edited together not one, but two complete episodes, editing out the original Peanuts voices and editing in the Foxhole voices. And it was just a kick in the pants to see it again. I hadn't seen it in a good couple of years. Fantastic work. What a great dude. What a great freaking guy. Are you all here? Are we everywhere we're supposed to be? Let's get a quick look around at the channels, shall we? Why not? Why not? We are definitely live at Pilled Foxhole. I'm seeing some beautiful people hanging out there. Patriot Party Pod, good to see you. Crazy Chuck with a K, welcome aboard. Goobage in the house. Good to see you. John Otter is with us. I mentioned Crazy Chuck with a K, did I not? Willie Fix It in the house. LT, my brother, good to see you. Man, there's no shortage of wonderful people here. Q&A holes in the house. Mrs. Green Thumb is with us. Good to see you. Yes, some fine sailors aboard the mystery ship this Friday night. Good to have you all aboard. Merry Christmas to all. I hope you had a fantastic one. Let's get a gander over at Rumble. Are we rumbling? Are we rumbling? Let's go here. Let's go there. My content and check. It does appear that we are live at Rumble, and there are 6 persons over there, so whoever the 6 of you are, God bless you. God rest ye, merry gentlemen and women. Thanks for being, Maddie F&B is over there. Starface. What the hell? Something just tried to... I need a drink. I don't know what the hell is going on. Something tried to make its exit from my windpipe. Not on air. John Otter in the house. Starface, my buddy. From just down south of me. Matty F&B, my buddy. Out of Philly. Just outside of Philly. Good to see you. We are live there. We are also live over at, the Tube. The Tube is ruined. Look at this. Q Magoo in the house. Q Magoo. How are you doing? Good to see you, kiddo. Always good to see you, Susie. All right. Well, John Otter is in there. Old timer in the house. Wonderful. Abe Sinclair. Epigenetic Eugenics, you're welcome. Abe Sinclair, the one, the only. Abe Sinclair, good to see you, buddy. It appears that we are also live at Twitch. That's a beautiful thing. Got people hanging out over there. And last but not least, the home of the champions. Yes, this month's champion. Just about out of time. On Sunday night, we'll be having our contest. Sunday night, we'll be having the inter-platform contest to see who January's champions will be. But until such time, these are the champions. These are the champions, my friend. John Rogers in the house. Jayla 17 with us. Bad Zoot. We are the champion. Sleeping Stars, good to see you. TL Spud in the house. Artist 61, great to see you, kiddo. Oh my goodness. All kinds of wonderful sailors. All kinds of Val Kimber in the house. Holy smokes, they called out. They must have sent out a flyer. They must have read my file. They're all here. It is wonderful to have all of you aboard. Seriously wonderful. Again, I hope that you all had a absolutely fantastic Christmas and that you're on your way to a happy and healthy new year. Tonight, folks, we're going to be looking at the topic of eugenics. And, you know, I'm sure we all, when you hear the word eugenics, the first thing you think of is like Margaret Sanger and how Hillary Clinton quoted her and how, you know, everyone equates Margaret Sanger with eugenics when the fact of the matter is she was like the last of the last to come along and have any part in it. And to be perfectly honest with you, her part in this passion play was minimal at best. Minimal. This is the craziest thing I have ever really looked into. I mean, I've been aware of it for years, but delving into, it's kind of strange what led me into this. Once again, you know, I've been looking into our hidden history, and there's so much to uncover there. I mean, you could unpack the hidden history box for the rest of your life and still never get to the bottom of the box. There's so much. But in looking at some of the old buildings that we have very quickly gone around in this country and demolished these extraordinary buildings. They looked like castles. They looked like monuments. They looked like these incredible. I mean, the men who built these things were beyond craftsmen. Okay, the masonry and the carpentry in these older buildings is just the columns and the. It's incredible, and I've been really fascinated by this subject. But in looking into that and looking at it in different cities across the country, I came across a fair amount of buildings in greater metropolises across the country that had hospitals. Not, I mean, of course, they had their sanitariums. Every city had its sanitariums for the crazy people, but they also had homes for the feeble-minded. Homes for the feeble-minded. What exactly does feeble-minded mean to you? To me, I would say, my ex-mother-in-law at 93 years old, she's starting to get a little feeble-minded, but she's 93, 95, 96. You can allow somebody a couple of sins at that age. They get a little forgetful, don't remember where they put their dentures, maybe use the preparation H instead of their, denture cream. Shit happens. But feeble-minded. There were many, many, many such homes across the United States. Homes for the feeble-minded. Crazy. Doesn't that just sound absurd to you? Or at least interesting? Phil Bradley, good to see you, my friend. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Man, oh man. We were going to be looking into eugenics tonight. So, looking into why there were so many homes for the feeble-minded, I started investigating feeble-mindedness and learned that it is right out of the book of Eugenics. Crazy. It's a crazy story. There's no way that I'm going to be able to do it justice in an hour and a half, but we're gonna take a crack at it. We're gonna take a run at it. This is really, really quite a topic. It's something that, truthfully, it is something deserving of your attention. Something you need to look into the reason that I look into topics like this is that, we have a way of repeating history. If you don't study your history, you will have a damn good chance of repeating it. And we've made so many mistakes in the past. Wouldn't it be nice to look into our past and say, I don't want to do that again. Let's not go down that road. This eugenics thing is just insane. It's insane. We're going to look at it, but not until we get back from the other side of this video. I'm very pleased to welcome you all aboard the Mystery Ship. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking in on the Mystery Ship. My name is ZosoDude77, and I welcome you aboard. Very nice to see my friend Q Magoo. How nice is that? How nice is that? And we got more people pouring in over at Pilled Foxhole. Satire for Retards is here. My dear brother, Due Diligence, Double D, in the house. Crazy, crazy, crazy cool. Wonderful folks showing up. Let us get into our little video break here. This is your last chance to go take a leak or walk the dog, take the dog outside, whatever you got to do. You got about 3 minutes to refresh your drink. Whatever it is you need to do, now is your chance to do it. Now is your chance. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for joining me aboard the mystery ship. Let's kill the harbor sounds. Don't need those anymore. We know we're out on a boat. Duska, let's cut to the video. Let's cut to the video.
Why do we sail upon the mystery ship? 'Cause we never know where we'll go next.
It is at this time I like to take a moment just to thank all of the wonderful people that support this show day in and day out, week in and week out, Wednesdays, Fridays, Sundays, and Saturdays. All of you. All of you are nothing short of extraordinary people, and I love you all. And the way that you continue to support this program, whether it is through gulp pills or perhaps sharing some lemon love, or at the very least, and the most important of all, sharing it with a friend. Just telling somebody about this show is really the grooviest thing you could possibly do for me. And I know you're doing it because each and every time I clock in here, I'm seeing some names I've never seen before, which means somehow, some way, the word is getting out there, and I blame you. I blame you, people. It isn't me. Surely it must be you. And don't call me Surely. Good to have you aboard. It really is great to have you aboard this evening. Cynthia, nice to see you tonight. Rhett 66 and Winchester 94 Winchester. Good to have you guys aboard. Zoom in the house. My dear brother. A heck of a human being right there. Great dude. Wonderful friends. I've got them all around me. all around me on all the different platforms. It's so nice to look out and see your smiling faces. Phil Bradley says, I am Sofa King, retired dead. I'll drink to that. I will drink to that. Man. So, before we get started in this little look at eugenics, do you guys know that the Mega Millions lottery drawing is at $1 billion? $1 billion. They're going to be pulling the numbers in about an hour and a half. And I just want you guys to know that you knew me when, okay? I've already spent the money. You might not want to go buy any tickets. I've already, don't worry, I'm taking all of you with me. I understand that the payout, if you decide to take the cash, one lump sum, it's somewhere around $440 million. Wow. That's a little crazy. I could probably make that work. Harleys all around. Ah, yes. Man, oh man. So, eugenics. As I mentioned earlier, it is my looking back into history. And one of the things that a dear buddy of mine, Paul Thaddeus, with a great channel over at Pilled Foxhole, Paul Thaddeus, look him up. If you drop in, tell him that your brother Zoe sent you. Paul does these digs into cities all around the country. And he looks at the cities, and he looks at the size of the population of the city at that time. And like most cities in America, most were, sparsely populated by the, late 1800s, 1870-ish. Most towns in America were, somewhat established, had populations between like 3 and 10,000. Maybe a bigger town might have 20,000. I'm talking towns like, let's just pick one, like Madison, Wisconsin, okay? Which in the late 1800s might have had 15,000, 20,000, and all of a sudden by, 1925, a mere 50 years later, with a population of 50, 60, 70,000, they've got these buildings, giant buildings, huge buildings that just, there's no explanation for them. There wasn't enough of a population at the time to support the size of these monstrous edifices across the country in every state. And the question seems to be, where did these buildings come from? Because if you've got a population of, say, 8,000, why would you need 100 buildings that are 13 stories or more? Why would you have built those? And they all claim that they were built in the 1800s, but it just doesn't seem to make sense. It doesn't seem to make sense unless, of course, those buildings were already there when we got here. Now, who's to say? I wasn't there. We may never know, but it is an interesting proposition nonetheless. But in looking at these buildings, I noticed in a number of cities, there was this thing called homes for the feeble-minded. I probably qualify to be in one of those homes, to be perfectly honest with you. It's a crazy thing. So, as I mentioned, most of the time when you hear the word eugenics, you think of Margaret Sanger. That's the first name that people tie to it, but truthfully, the woman she was the last one to come down the pipe. Let me share this with you. Get a look at this fellow. I want you to look at this fellow. and I want you to look at him closely. You might be related. You might be related. Who is this? Why, this is none other than Charles Benedict Davenport. Who the hell is Charles Benedict Davenport? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about him. He was a Harvard-educated man. In 1902, he was 36 years old. He was a biologist, and much like many of the people of his day, men of science, men of learning, he was interested. He was interested in evolution. Evolution. The old Darwin theory of man crawling out of the primordial soup. I have always had a problem with evolution myself. I'm not saying it didn't take place. Again, I wasn't there. I can't tell you. But, you know, with the missing link, and what is the ape's name? Was it Edith or something? Where they basically made up all the, you know, they couldn't get from point A to point B. They had to make a monkey out of us, so they put together parts and pieces and claimed that they found this, whatever this monkey's name was, and this monkey turned out to be the missing link, and therefore, you know, evolution must be real. Well, I never really bit into it myself, but it was a big deal. It was a big deal at the turn of last century. All the scientists were talking about it. Contemplating the theory of evolution. Is that where we came from? And science was really coming of age at the turn of last century. This man right here, I'll show him to you again one more time, just so you don't forget his face, in case you're related. Charles Davenport. Charles Davenport. Now, Charles was a unique individual, far-reaching, a thinker, a thinking man. He wondered about evolution, but more importantly, he wondered about people. And he had been studying animals. That was his forte. He was trying to find hereditary links in animals and flora and fauna, okay? He was trying to find out about genes. That was his real interest, was genes. How are certain traits passed down? How do you get the same kind of flower over and over and over again? His field of study was wide-ranged. An interesting fellow, but he traveled over to London in 1902. And in 1902, he met up with this gentleman. Where is he? He met up with this gentleman right here. This gentleman right here. Now, who the hell is this, Zoso? I'm sure you're going to tell me. Well, folks, this is an 80-year-old gentleman, a British man by the name of Sir Francis Dalton. Sir Francis Dalton. He was, for all intents and purposes, a statistician beyond belief. This guy had a motto. He had a motto. His lifelong motto was, whenever you can, count. Okay? And he liked to observe, and he liked to take records and make records of things that he could count. His work actually led to the very first weather map. The very first weather map of the entire planet was because of this man's research. He crunched the numbers. He drew grids on the whole globe, flattened globe, of course, and we were able, with this man's help, we were then able to track things for the very first time, like weather patterns, thanks to this man. Let's get a look at him one last time. One last time, because, he's no slouch. He was a man of letters, okay? A man of learning. Sir Francis Dalton. It also so happens that he just happened to be the half-cousin to Charles Darwin. So you can imagine that when Mr. Davenport went to London to meet with this guy, one of the major things that they discussed was the odds of people passing down traits through hereditary traits, passing down from generation to generation to generation. That was what really piqued the interest of this Charles Davenport. And the two men came to the agreement that they looked at the world and they looked at the world's problems. And there were things like alcoholism. There was things like rampant crime. There was prostitution. There was all sorts of nefarious problems plaguing the United States, which honestly, at the turn of last century, from 1870 to 1900, the United States was kicking ass and taking names, people. We were the country that everyone dreamed of going to because of our prosperity. The world, all the world knew about the United States was the streets were paved with gold. And man, if you could just get over there and get yourself established, you too could have a chance at owning some land and being somebody. And it's funny how we're so concerned about the numbers, coming over our borders. Do you know that from 1900 to like 1922, we were getting 75,000 immigrants through Ellis Island every single month. 75,000 immigrants every month pouring into the United States. Thanks to the Industrial Revolution, farms were being replaced with factories. And the country bumpkins were moving to the city looking for a better life and more money. And so were all of the immigrants. Now, the Harvard-educated rich white people looked around them and said, well, this is all well and good that we're rich and the country is prosperous and there's no end in sight. We've got great colleges and we've got, if someone wants to come and apply themselves, boy, there's no limit to what we could achieve in this country. But the thing that they felt was missing, the thing that was a problem, was the things like rampant crime, the alcoholism, the prostitution, all of the nasty things that they wanted to pretend weren't there. Well, the problem was these rich men were coming out of their giant buildings in New York City, and the minute they got down to the bottom floor, there they were, accosted, ripped off. They looked around them and said, there's nothing but ne'er-do-wells pouring into this country. How do we fix this? Well, that's where Mr. Davenport comes in. Mr. Davenport, after meeting with After meeting with Sir Francis Dalton, the renowned statistician, he came back and he established in Long Island, the north side of Long Island, Oyster Bay. He put a 10-acre plot together, and he started studying and making records, keeping records of things like he had a small farm. He had roosters, he had cats and dogs, he had chickens, he had sheep, and he had a few goats. And he studied their breeding and started making notes. He would look at things like, okay, this rooster has a black comb. If this rooster with a black comb mates with this hen, and he would follow the traits of the eggs and the children and the little ones, he would do the math and figure out what were the odds of one of the offspring having a black comb. This is just an example. Just an example. He studied his sheep, he studied his cats, he studied his dogs. And what he was trying to find was there a specific trait that could be traced to the stronger of each of his specimens. You know, when one of that specimen's traits were continually witnessed over and over and over from generation to generation to generation. Let's just use the example of the rooster with the black comb having sired a chicken, and in that next batch of eggs there was another chicken with a black comb, and then that one again had other babies with a black comb, over and over. He started studying these traits. And after a while, he was funded by the Carnegies, the railroad magnates, the filthy rich railroad people. They believed in him. About 1906, the word got out. That this guy, Davenport, was starting to be known as one of the leading authorities on hereditary markings. Okay, what to expect from the offspring of the offspring of offspring of offspring. He had been tracking these things. Strangely enough, Davenport found a Catholic priest by the name of, is it Mendelssohn? No, Mendel. This Catholic bishop, actually, had been studying pea pods. And due to his years and years of work, this Catholic priest, Mendel, was able to predict pretty well. Looking at a plant as it was coming up out of the ground, he could already tell like how many peas would be in the pods just by looking at the plant as it was in its infant stage. And Davenport was really enthusiastic about this Catholic bishop's findings. And he got with him, and they discussed things. And so Davenport incorporated that kind of knowledge, that kind of record keeping into his work. And he started to see the fruits of his labors. He started to be able to breed the chickens that laid the most eggs and the goats that gave the most milk. And he was having successes with this, tremendous successes. Then one day, when looking around at the problems facing Americans, the problems I mentioned before, crime, alcoholism, prostitution, he got the idea that wouldn't it be grand wouldn't it be grand if using his notes, what he learned from the famous statistician, what he learned from the Mendelian count, what if he could apply this to human beings? What if they could somehow eradicate the problems facing society by ensuring that his hunch was that crime-ridden families or feeble-minded families, that this was hereditary and was passed down. It was in their genes. He didn't stop to think that it might have anything to do with the social construct or where the family was, what their socioeconomic setup was. He didn't take any of that into account. He thought it was just pure hereditary. That's what was wrong with these people. And if we could just get the pure and noble people to mate with other pure and noble people and somehow prevent the ne'er-do-wells from having more offspring of criminals and prostitutes and that, he thought, what a wonderful world it would be. What a wonderful world it could be. Kind of twisted thinking, but I mean, at the core of his thinking, he really was just trying to better society. He got together with a number of people, a gentleman named Laughlin, who had been another breeder, and Laughlin took to Davenport's ideas like a duck took to water, and he became Davenport's yes man and actually did a respectable amount of research himself. Davenport, at the same time, thought, okay, I need to back up my theory with some evidence. And what he realized is, even if he lived to be a ripe old man of, say, 80 or 90, the most that he could track might be like 3 generations of families. So he started writing, and he started writing to prisons and to homes for the feeble-minded and all these places where people were sanitariums. And he started asking for records of the families. In other words, were the inmates at these homes of the feeble-minded, were they descendants of feeble-minded people? He was trying to go backwards because he didn't have the time to wait and go forwards and amass his data. He was trying to get it by going backwards. Well, a lot of the places that were housing the feeble-minded or the criminally insane didn't really have good records. They couldn't really tell you, where Jack the Ripper's mom and dad lived. It wasn't something that they considered keeping records of. But one of the places that Davenport wrote to, was a home for the feeble-minded in New Jersey. And the guy who was running that place was very interested in Davenport's thinking and agreed with him that if they could somehow trace back these families, if they could somehow grade these people like grade A, USDA prime, if they could somehow grade these families, well, then they could, looking to the future, make sure that the A families didn't crossbreed with the B or C families and so on and so forth. And they came up with a test. This guy who ran the Home for the Feeble-Minded in New Jersey, you have to forgive me for not having his name. I should have, if I had more time. I've got like 18 pages of notes here, and I hope to God I get through them. He put together a test, and To be honest with you, it wasn't like one of your SAT tests, but it was considered an intelligence test. And what they found by giving this test out to school children, to high school, to 20-somethings, they put people like you and me, into three categories. They put people into three different categories based upon their scoring of their intelligence tests. Now, the lowest grade were considered idiots. These are the mouth-breathing droolers who need help tying their shoes, okay? Just barely able to feed themselves and clothe themselves. A little higher up on the scale is the imbecile. The imbecile, just smart enough to run the machines, but not smart enough to ask any questions. Now, the next grade above imbecile, you had idiot on the bottom, you had imbecile in the middle, the top flight person, and this is a person who had between had the intelligence of a 10 to 12-year-old. They were called morons. Yes, they were called morons. And by, by 1922, when these tests really, really caught on, they figured that about 50% of the people living in homes for the feeble-minded were considered morons. Now, folks, by feeble-minded, this is not... I can't be clear enough on this. Feeble-minded to these people who had their nose in the air and thought that they were, the finest bred human beings, these would be your, like, college applicants today, okay? These weren't stupid people. The stupid people were the idiots and the imbeciles. The morons were just useful. They were the ones who could be taught to go to war and fight in armies and, run factories and assemble Henry Ford's cars. Those were the morons, okay? Just enough, they could do just enough to get along, but they were still considered feeble-minded. Now, a lot of crazy stuff went down. A young girl whose mother was feeble-minded and lived in a home for the feeble-minded. This young girl was living not with her mother. She was living at home with the rest of the family. She was raped by like a cousin or something. A horrible, horrible story. And, of course, the first thing they did with this girl is they took and gave her the intelligence test. And they determined that she was obviously feeble-minded. She lacked the common sense to try and fight off her attacker. It's the most grotesque story I've ever come across. It's horrible, just absolutely horrible. But this girl ended up being the first woman to be sterilized so that no more of her kind could reproduce. This caught the country by storm. It was on the headlines of all the papers. It made its way to the different, all through the states. And then there were a bunch of states coming forward saying, well, we allow sterilization in our state. about half of the United States at this time allowed sterilization. It hadn't really caught on. It wasn't happening every 5 minutes, but in certain cases, it was allowable. Well, this girl's case, and I can't remember the state it was in. I want to say Virginia, but don't hold me to it. It went to the Supreme Court of that state, and they alleged, after studying the case, the Supreme Court of that state, again, I think it's Virginia, don't quote me, they said it was done for the child's good, and that she obviously wasn't able to care for the young baby, and that she was moved into the same home for the feeble-minded that her mother was in. And they said, so if the mother is feeble-minded and she's in the home, and now the daughter is also feeble-minded and she's in the home, well, there's a very good chance that this young baby girl is going to be feeble-minded as well. And that sort of set the stage for this case to go all the way to the Supreme Court. I mean, was it morally just to sterilize someone just because they fit the category of feeble-minded? And who sets the bar? Who set the grade for feeble-mindedness? There are so many unanswered questions with this. It's disgusting. It did, in fact, go all the way to the Supreme Court, and you've probably heard the name Oliver Wendell Holmes. One of the Supreme Court justices was the one who made the ruling, and it was unanimous. It was unanimous that they found that sterilizing this young woman was the right thing to do. That we couldn't afford to have a bunch of feeble-minded, unwed mothers running around having more feeble-minded babies. That was their take. I mean, it just seems freaking criminal to me. It seems criminal to me that it could go to the Supreme Court and that's the way they would. I mean, if this case was alive today, it's unbelievable. Well, once that went through, sterilization started happening fairly regularly all over the country. Like I said, about half of the United States approved of sterilization. But beyond this, let's get back to the man himself, okay? Let's get back to Mr. Davenport. His ideas had caught on with a number of people. He went to the widow of E.H. Harriman, the railroad magnate, and he had passed on. E.H. had passed on, but widow Merriman was a philanthropist. She was filthy. I mean, rich beyond anyone's wildest dreams. And Davenport went to her and said, look, it's wonderful what you're doing. You are spending millions of dollars each year to clothe the naked, to feed the hungry, to house the homeless. Your philanthropy seems to know no bounds, and that is wonderful. But he said, what if I told you there was another way? And he explained to her that if humans could be, quote unquote, graded for all kinds of traits, what they didn't necessarily refer to it as intelligence back then. They referred to it as talents, okay? Whether a person was musically inclined, it's mind-boggling. Anyway, he convinced her that if instead of instead of basically just throwing her money away every month, trying to solve the world's problems, that if we could just nip it in the bud and stop the imbeciles and the idiots from breeding with one another, that within a couple of generations, things like crime and alcoholism and prostitution would just go away. And there seemed to be a little problem with this, though. I mean, Mrs. Harriman was actually thoroughly convinced, and she gave him a blank check. She said, do your research, do whatever you got to do. Well, one of the first things he did is he got together with a fellow that you probably have heard of. The man's name was Kellogg. Mr. Kellogg was a health and fitness guru. And one of the things that Mr. Kellogg was very big on was keeping your colon clean. That a body that's clean on the outside and clean on the inside, and I'm talking whistle clean, yes, that is the body beautiful. Mr. Kellogg, who started Kellogg's Corn Flakes as a breakfast cereal aimed at cleaning everyone's colons, he had some firepower. He had some draw. He had a tremendous following. The whole world knew who Mr. Kellogg was. His cornflakes were on every table in America, and he was a major big deal. Well, these two guys got together and said, we need to breed the body beautifuls together. That's the ones, though, that's where our future society is going to come from. The strongest will survive, and the rest of these people, we need to find a way to, well, we need to find a way to sterilize them. And they really believe this. Now, in 1915, there was a gathering out in San Francisco. It was called the Panama Pacific International Exposition. Now, this is crazy. It was held December 4th, excuse me. It was almost a year long, from February 20th to December 4th, 1915. Its stated purpose was to celebrate the completion of the Panama Canal. But it was a fair. It was a World's Fair. That's what it was. And folks, back in the day, when they had a World's Fair, they pulled out all the stops. I want to show you some pictures from this World's Fair. Look at this. I don't think you're going to believe this. All of these structures that I'm about to show you, these were constructed purely for the fair and then torn down after the fair was over, okay? We had the ability to build structures like this in no time. Let's just take a quick gander at this World's Fair in San Francisco, all right? Let's look at some of the stuff that they built. There was, wait, let me shrink this so you can see it. Yes. Amazing. There were parades. There were amazing buildings. Oops. All of these buildings were built to house exhibitions at the fair, at the World's Fair. They built this for the World's Fair. Then they tore it down. How is it that we were capable of building such stuff in such a short manner of time, only to knock it down when the fair was over? It's just incredible. Well, one of the biggest exhibitions at this World's Fair attracted scientists from around the world. And that was the eugenics discussion. Okay? The eugenics discussion was on the table, and everyone seemed to agree with it. Now, you have to understand, by this time, World War I is underway, and we are sending guys over there. We're sending the morons over there to fight the fight. In a short matter of time, Hitler would come into power, I believe 1933, and as you know, he was a bit of a eugenicist himself. And do you know who he cited as the guy who he got all of his ideas from? Well, it was Davenport's right-hand man. Yes, the former sheep herder, Laughlin, who wrote a book and traced some family lineage, and he put together this book about a specific family and traced the roots of the family and found that they had feeble-mindedness coming from feeble-mindedness, coming from feeble-mindedness, coming from a lot of it, he apparently made up, okay? But people were citing this Laughlin book like it was the eugenics Bible. And Hitler got wind of it and based his entire eugenics program basically on this guy's book. The guy was a freaking sheep herder. It's pretty crazy shit. What ended up happening is this is truly amazing. At the end of World War II, at the Nuremberg trials, when they held the Nazi eugenicist doctors up at trial, they said, how could you do what you were doing to the people in those concentration camps? And they just turned to the people running the affair and said, well, the United States Supreme Court voted that sterilization is perfectly legal. So how are you, the pot calling the kettle black, blaming us for anything when your highest court in your land has agreed that what we were experimenting with is perfectly legal? Pretty crazy shit. There was a very specific case in 1934 of a young woman who was from a very well-to-do family. She was the heiress to a multi-million-dollar fortune. And at some point, she had an appendicitis. She went into the hospital to have her appendix taken out. When she woke up, she learned that she had been sterilized at the request of her mother. Her mother told the doctors that the girl was feeble-minded and hanging around with the wrong people, specifically a black chauffeur, and I guess she had some Mexican friends. The mother didn't approve of this and said the girl is obviously feeble-minded and we need to sterilize her. And it was a huge court case. The girl sued her mother for $500,000 back in the 30s. I mean, we're talking about tremendous amount of money. This case was plastered all over the newspapers nationwide. It caught the attention of another scientist who had been working with fruit flies and was having tremendous success following the genes of the fruit flies. This guy was able to, a tremendous scientist, I can't think of his name either, damn it. If I had a little more time to do more research, I could have brought you all the names of these wonderful people. But basically, This guy, this fruit fly guy, proved that mutated flies were begat from perfectly healthy flies, and that basically, in a nutshell, to just try to shorten this, what he brought to the table to all of these scientists who were now hell bent on eugenics, all of these guys were really interested. The guy said, "Wait a minute, who are you?" This fruit fly scientist said to these eugenicists, "Who are you to decide who is capable of being the grade A ones? Who are you to play God and say you can multiply, but no, you can't. The color of your skin isn't preferred. Who the fuck do you think you are?" Because he proved with his fruit flies that they could take the fittest, most healthy fruit flies and mate them with other completely fit, healthy fruit flies. And every now and then, you'd get a lemon. You'd get one with a mutated fly or whatever. And his work basically undermined everything the eugenicists had put together. This guy proved beyond the shadow of a doubt that until they knew more about genes and DNA and all of that, that whatever these guys were putting forth was honestly out of fear and hate. That was, and people took notice. The next time around that there was one of those eugenicist conventions, nobody came. Nobody showed up. People took a step back and said, "Now, wait a minute. Who the hell do these people think they are to decide who is the superior race that needs to multiply and be prosperous?" And that is exactly the issue. Who died and made you God? Now, the idea that they were coming up, the premise behind their thinking, to alleviate the world of crime and hunger and all of these things, is a noble concept. But, these are the people who brought you prohibition. They thought that they could cure all of the world's ills by legislation. It just doesn't work that way. All the way at the end of the story, and now the rest of the story, all the way at the end of the story is where Margaret Sanger came in. Honestly, she was like the last of the last. There still were eugenics centers dotted across the country, and there were, some holdouts as with any thinking that is, a little astray. You're always going to have some followers, I mean, look at all the people that Koresh got in his little Waco compound. I mean, Jim Jones, look at his following. People are like sheep. They want to be herded. Some of them want to be herded. I was really, really amazed at what I learned looking into this. And there's no way I've done this job. I mean, I've got so many pages that I haven't even begun to discuss with you yet. Holy crap, there's so much information on this topic. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that had these people gone through, let me tell you the list of some of the nationalities that these these upper crusted white folk deemed not worthy of of multiplying and propagating their own species. These guys felt that Italians were crime-ridden. They had something against the blacks. They had something against the Jews. They had something against the Mexicans. There were laws. There were laws passed that blacks could not marry whites. I mean, these laws were, and the sterilization laws remained on the books into the 1970s. By the time the last sterilization for feeble-mindedness took place, over 60,000 Americans had been sterilized. Now, back then, they didn't screw around. If a guy was a sex offender, they sterilized him. If a guy was found guilty, I mean, no questions asked, guilty of being a sex offender, they sterilized him. But they were sterilizing women for being feeble-minded in the 1970s. This is insane. This is insane. Why, thank you, Cynthia. I have to say, it is almost impossible to take a subject this deep and try to cover it in an hour and 10 minutes. It is mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing what I uncovered. Sanger was not, she was just the last of the last. She was like at the very, very end. She did propose that other than sterilization, that, the use of prophylactics might be helpful in stopping the unwanted breeding of idiots and imbeciles. Honestly, after reading about these other guys, I almost kind of think like Sanger was more saintly than the rest of these people. It's don't get me wrong. I loathe the woman and everything she stands for, but these supposed scientists had a really twisted take or an extremely high opinion of themselves to think that what they called the Nordic race, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, I don't want to say the word Aryans because then you think Nazis, okay? But the Davenport and his ilk felt that the Nordic race was the one that needed to be protected and just the fittest of the fit. It's amazing going down some of these rabbit holes. Some of the interviews they had with people in the late 20s and the 1930s. There were two very tall people, very tall man and a very tall woman, and they were very much in love, but they were afraid to have children because they were afraid that they would have tall children. That's how brainwashed. That's how fucking brainwashed people were. In the 20s and the 1930s, eugenics, that was a topic of discussion. That would have been this year's Russia, okay? Or the last decade's Russia. Eugenics was on the tip of everyone's tongue in the 20s and the 30s, and they thought it was a good thing. Thank God for the scientist with his fruit flies, because he's the one that straightened all their asses out and said, who the hell do you think you are to play God and choose which races should populate America? It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. I've looked at a number of subjects in my day, and I have to say, of all of them, this eugenics thing takes the cake. This eugenics thing takes the cake for being the most disgusting proposition of all of them. It just blows my mind. It blows my mind. Thank God it never caught on. Thank God laws weren't passed approving it. I mean, if laws kept on the books approving sterilization until the early 1970s, can you wrap your head around that? I can't. I find it vile and disgusting. Oh, crazy. We'll be back after this video. After this video right here, my mind is just, I'm so pissed off at these people. So pissed off at these people. my cursor. I can never find my cursor when I need it. I can never find my cursor when I need it. This is one of the quotes, a direct quote from one of the men working with Mr. Davenport. It was where is it? Where is it? Wouldn't it be? Oh man, where is it? Wouldn't it be a better world if people who possessed these undesirable traits weren't allowed to reproduce? That was the thinking at the San Francisco World's Fair when everybody was gung-ho on eugenics. I mean, they were hook, line, and sinker. They believed that this was sound science. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. I'm going to open up the phones because I'm interested in your guys' thoughts on the subject. And my brother, Rick Carmen, has already expressed an interest in calling in and sharing what he has about it. I want to add that this man, Davenport, his 10-acre. One second here while I punch in the number. There we go. Yes. His 10-acre encampment was on the north shore of Long Island, Oyster Bay. Rick, do you know where Oyster Bay is? Apparently this guy, and then he got another 20 acres next to it to continue his studies. Crazy. Crazy. All right. Oh, sounds like we have Mr. Rick on the phone. Brother Rick, can you hear me? Are you there, my friend? Good. 1 second. For some reason, the phone is not coming through. Let me figure out. Give me half a second here. Give me half a second. Something's going on, and I don't have you coming through the. That says phone. This is phone. Turn this up. Say a little something, Rick. Damn it. Hang on. Hang on just a second, Rick. In fact, give me 2 seconds here. I may need to call you right back if that's okay. Let me figure out what's going on with this. 1 second. I'll call you right back. Okay, bye. Okay. We're having technical difficulties. Hang on just a second. Let's see. That goes to the phone. That goes here. This goes here. This goes into. All right. I figured it out.
Please leave your message for...
Rick, are you there? Rick, is that you? I got you now, brother. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. Like I said, I'm going to start this off with a deep dive. So I'm going to set the premise for everybody, okay? The premise is, let's assume that every word in the Bible, as we know it, is the absolute truth, okay? Given that premise, God created Adam and Eve, and they had a perfect DNA because God created us, God created mankind, and they were perfect.
All right.
Okay? Now, if you stay with this premise now, the first 1,000 years of the Bible, you had no choice but to sleep with your brother or your sister or your cousin or something like that. Okay?
Yes, it was like the Illuminati.
Right. So the thing is that you had no choice. There was no such thing as incest or anything. That was it. That was your choice, so you had to do it. So you're going to have offspring. You had to do what is now considered a sin, okay? But the thing was, you had no choice. But the thing was is that we know when Adam and Eve disobeyed God, the world was no longer perfect, and now our DNA was also no longer perfect. And what science tells us today is that our DNA obtains mutations from exposure to radiation from the sun, whatever it might be. And as time goes on, that solar radiation or whatever it is continues to destroy our DNA and makes us less and less perfect, okay? Now, we sit here today as modern intelligent beings thinking, how in the world did all of these buildings get created that we can't figure out how to do? Because we're talking about multiple civilizations all around the world, not just Egypt, but South America and everywhere else.
Oh, yeah. The Mayans.
We can't figure out how to do it.
Sure.
So let's consider the possibility of de-evolution. In other words, we're getting dumber. And we can't figure out how we did things in the past. Okay?
Yes.
Mainly because our DNA is getting bombarded by solar radiation, whatever it might be. And we're just no longer as intelligent as we once were. And over the generations, we're losing that. So there's a deep dive for the mystery ship. Get on your scuba equipment. We're going down.
I couldn't agree with you more, Rick. One of the things that I've been looking into was the fact that in the mid 1800s to 1900, through the Industrial Revolution, America was prospering at a rate unseen by any other country, anywhere. I mean, we were growing at a rate that was just it was unfathomable, and people were dying to get to our shores because
the roads were paved with gold.
That is really believe it or my Italian grandfather who came over through Ellis Island. That was what he had heard back in Italy, that the streets were paved with gold.
It was the truth, because anybody could come here and become wealthy.
Yes.
Maybe not wealthy, but to the point where they had a very satisfactory life.
If you were ambitious and willing to work hard, the sky was the limit. And the rich people at the time who said the only sin in this world is competition, they took a look at what was going on and they said, we can't have that. And that's when the Rockefellers stepped in under the guise of, we're philanthropy. We're going to add a wing onto the college. You don't mind if we put someone on the board of directors, do you? And they influenced the curriculum. They got rid of holistic doctors and brought in the American Medical Association and took over medical science. Anything they took over. They took over the schools and introduced the K through 12 program and grades and they used to just gather all the kids in the town. It didn't matter if Billy Bob was 14 and Curly Jane was 6. They all learned together at the same time. And I mean, I've shown it on this program. The tests the tests that kids
Right.
had to take in schools about 1900, dude, half of college students couldn't pass those today. It's
Well,
insane.
that's true. I mean, there's a lot of dumbing down in our education.
Holy
You've met my son.
smokes! Yes.
You've met my son. He's on the autism spectrum. Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
But the thing is, and now I've always been very strong in math. I've studied math up into calculus. My son can spin circles around me.
Really?
Okay, he's autistic, but the thing is, that's his focus. That's his main focus. I don't know if that's evolution or devolution, but the thing is that, I certainly acknowledge that there are people out there that are better than me. So
He's perhaps a savant of some kind. How awesome for you, man.
Well,
Dude, that is great. Hey, while I got you, man,
he may be a savant. I don't know.
did you have a Merry Christmas, Rick?
I had a good one, very good. Unfortunately, my son's here with me today. He is sick. I don't know what it is. Got flu, maybe COVID, whatever it is. But he's got to rest for a couple of days.
All right.
So.
I just got over some kind of creeping crud that had me down for about 4 or 5 days. No
Right.
fun. No fun. Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
it's who do we owe that to? What the hell is his name? Our medical doctor from
Fauci?
2020.
Fauci.
Yeah. He's got the Fauci disease.
Rick, all I can tell you is, my brother, I freaking love you, man. Thank you for being one of the coolest sailors I know.
Love you, Zoe. Take care.
Wishing you a happy and healthy 2025. Thanks, my brother. Thanks for calling in.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing to think that there was so many things in this world were brought in under the guise of philanthropy, of doing the world a service. How about the roll up your sleever? Wasn't that supposed to save mankind? Holy smoke. Holy smoke. I had to turn off the heater, man. It is cooking in this room. Absolutely freaking cooking in here. Hey, while I'm at it, two things. Today happens to be the birthday of my dear brother, the Texan. I don't know that he's watching. I think he's out shooting pool right now. We had talked about potentially doing a show tonight, but he ended up going out for steaks and shooting pool with one of his buddies. And just, you know what, a tremendous friend of mine and a dear brother and one hell of a patriot. I want to take this time to wish my dear brother, the Texan, happy double nickels. He hit 55 today. Good for him. I hope he makes it to double that. A great dude. A great dude. While I'm at it, I also want to let you guys know that if you're not a regular participant, each and every Saturday, your brother Zoe, that's me. That is me. Every Saturday, I host a classic rock show, specifically on D-Live and Pilled Foxhole. So if you're not hanging out with us on Saturdays, you really should be. You really freaking should be. Just think, folks, in 20 minutes here, somebody could be a billionaire. Would you pray that I get 4 of the 5? I'll tell you what, here's an interesting thing I came across. This is a really interesting thing I came across. This kind of pissed me off. I'm closing in. I'm being able to receive my Social Security. All right, It's been a long haul. I've been paying into it. I have been paying into the system since 1975. That's when I got my first part-time job, and I started paying into Social Security. 1975. Seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? Well, look at this. Look at this right here. Look at this. This just came through. The Social Security age to increase in 2025. To increase. Now, first, let me preface this. When I was a kid, I was told you pay into the system, and when you reach 65 years of age, you can start cashing in. And if you want to, you could actually cash in early at 62 years old and get like 80%. Or you can wait until you're 65 and get the whole kit and caboodle. And if you're really feeling healthy, if you're really feeling your oats, you can wait until you're 70. And if you wait until you're 70, you can get 125% of what they owe you. That is, if you think you're going to live to be 100. You're doing the math. I'm almost thinking maybe I should have, who knows how long I'm going to live, but I'm wondering if I should have just taken it at 62. But that is long come and gone. But let's look at this. They are raising the freaking rates again. I remember when they first contacted me, I think I first learned this about 10 years ago, where they said, "Oh, Mr. Sella, you were born in 1959. It turns out that in order for you to qualify for the totality of your Social Security, you're now going to have to wait until you are 66 and 8 months. 66 and 8 months. So out of nowhere, they added 20 months. I never signed up for that. I never saw the... Where in the fine print did it say, we reserve the right to change the numbers any old time we want? That's what I'm thumbing through the news the other day, and I came across this. Yes, Social Security is something that many of us rely on or will rely on one day in the future. However, we may have to work a little longer to receive full benefits. In 2025, the full retirement age will increase from 66 years and 10 months for people born in 1959. That is up from 66 years and 8 months. Social Security's full retirement age refers to when workers can start claiming their full benefits. Now, wait a minute. That's me. They're telling me now I got to wait another 2 more fucking months? Are you kidding me? Financial experts say this is really for people who are deciding whether to take Social Security at their full retirement age or wait until they get to age 70 as the benefits continue to increase. When we're talking about Social Security, you get one shot at doing it right. So whether you claim early, whether you claim at your full retirement age, or whether you wait to claim at age 70, make sure it's right for you and your financial situation, says David Wald, a financial advisor. Social Security benefits will also be increasing next year. The Associated Press reports that millions of Social Security recipients will be getting a 2.5% cost of living increase. I'm just curious, is there anyone in our chat who is already receiving Social Security benefits? And have you received increases over the years? Like they're saying this year, besides bumping it a couple of months, they're going to generously increase it 2.5%. Has anybody ever been the recipient of one of these little cash cow bonuses? Is it working out in your favor? Do you wish? My big question is, did I make the mistake of not taking it at 62? Should I have just taken it at 80% and considered myself lucky? Because if I wait now, I guess this is me now. Let me double check, make sure I'm reading it. I've been told this whole time, or at least for the last 10 years, that it's 66 and 8 months. Now they're telling me I got to wait until 66 years and 10 months. That means I'm basically going to be 67 years old when I can get the son of a bitch. What the hell? It's only 3 more years to 70. I should hold out for to age 70 and get the 125%. But the odds are I'll only live to be 71 years old, and then it'll all be for naught. I should have. Is there anyone who regrets taking it early in the chat? I'm telling you, call in. I need guidance. Is there anybody who took their Social Security at 62 and wishes they had waited till they were 65? Or is there anyone who waited till they were 65 and said to themselves, damn it, I should have taken it at 62? And on the third case, is there anyone waiting until they're 70? Those are the people that I really want to talk to. Is there anybody out there enjoying this insanity right now? Because I know I'm older than most, but I need some guidance here. I need some freaking guidance here. This is pissing me off. Pissing me off. Welcome aboard the mystery ship. Who do we have in the 219 area code?
Hey, my brother, this is John Otter.
John Otter, how you doing, my man?
I'm living the dream, my friend.
Are you in on the mega millions here?
I don't touch this stuff.
They're going to pick it in 11 minutes. I could be a billionaire.
Yeah, fuck the fucking fuckers.
I'm sure it's going to go to one of the descendants of the Rockefellers for sure.
Yeah, they got the schemes and stuff. I gave up on scratch-offs even, man. For the $10, when I got the $10 and stuff, and I was like, oh, I just won. But, I just spent $100 in the last 2 years to get that $10. So, yeah, fuck them fuckers.
Oh, man. Are you...
But, this thing about the retirement and stuff,
yeah.
When I got fucked up by my disease about 15 years ago, the thing was, people were telling me, you know what, you get your disability, go ahead and collect the Social Security. And my feeling was, my grandpa would roll over in his grave if I took, I'm entitled to it, supposedly, I'm entitled to everything that I put into Social Security.
Yeah.
My grandfather would have fucking lost his goddamn mind if I went and said, you know what, I quit. I give up.
Yeah.
Give me my money. Let me rest in peace. Let me just, fuck that Ponzi scheme. Fuck it.
It really is, man. It's a lose-lose proposition. I mean, they're not giving us interest on the money. In fact, it's the proverbial carrot on a stick, and they just keep moving the carrot. Every time you think you're about to take a bite, man, the fucking carrot moves another fucking. Oh, it's enough to piss off the Pope.
And what it means now to me, is looking to the people around me. My neighbors and stuff. Yeah, I got a little left to give, very little, but I have something to give. And if I can give them something, they don't need that Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
They just need a little input from each other. They just need people to, we're just right next door to each other. Let's bring over a loaf of bread.
Yeah,
let's
amen.
Bring over, let's go vacuum in their house for them.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I mean,
that's all we need to do, man.
Help your brother. Help one another. I'm with you. I'm with you all
the
way.
That's all it is, man. And that's all I had on my mind, and I'm going to let you go because, you hit a really deep spot in my New Year's. shit. So
Well,
much love.
I hope it works out good for both of us. That's all I can say, my man. I hope it works out
Don't
well for
hope.
both of us.
You know what? Don't hope. Hoping is presuming that you know more than God does. Okay? Just ride the wave, man.
I will, John. Hey, always good to talk to you, my friend. I hope you have a happy and healthy 2025, my brother. All the best.
I know you will.
I'll be seeing you this summer.
I hope so.
Sounds good. Be good, my man. Our dear brother John Otter, right there. He is he's a foxholer. He's a YouTuber. He's a what else does he do? He's a rumbler. He's all over the place. That guy. I've seen him everywhere but D Live. A heck of a nice guy. Really a good new friend of the mystery ship, and someone I think he should have his own show. He's a good-looking son of a gun. The guy could, my God, he could be on television with that face. All right. Well, looking at the time here, I don't think it's going to hurt anybody if I check out now. If I check out now, I think everything will just be fine. I want to make sure that I invite all of you to come join me tomorrow. Please come join me tomorrow for my rock and roll show. If you've not been there before, I'm going to give you a couple of links right now. To find me. Please come and find me tomorrow. You won't regret it. Here's one of them. Oh, good. We got another phone call. We'll take it. We will take it from the 208 area code. That feels like Montana or something. Welcome aboard the mystery ship. Who do we have on the line tonight? Hello. 208. I can hear you breathing. Hello. Oh. I could have sworn somebody rang my bell. I really could have sworn somebody rang my bell. All right, let me put the second. I'm going to put the second listing. Let's see. Control V. Boom. All right, folks. Those of you over in Rumble, those of you over in YouTube, I've just given you a couple of links over. This is where you can find my rock and roll show tomorrow. I hope you'll come join me. I will be going live at 10 a.m. Pacific. 10 a.m. Pacific. I already know Craig Mason is not going live. Therefore, I will be going live at 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 p.m. Eastern. I hope you'll come and join me. It's going to be 4 to 5 to 6 hours of the best classic rock you've ever heard, and I enjoy doing it. I do it for you. Speaking of other things I do for you, I'm going to release the Scratchin'. Let me shout out some names of beautiful people who have so generously donated to the cause tonight. FMJ, my dear brother, Full Metal Jacket. Thank you, my man. Good to see you. Uncensored Abe in the house. Giving the love. Giving the gold pill love. Tony Cole, thank you. Cynthia, thank you. Due Diligence, my brother. Thank you kindly. Patriot Party Pod. Thank you guys for being the wind in my sail tonight over there on Pilled Foxhole. I am hereby releasing the Scratchin'. Go and get you some. Go and get you some, people. Go and get it right now. As for these fine folks over in Lemonland, we are going to put a little something in the treasure chest. Let's see. How about... Yeah, let's do that. That'll round that off. Nicely. Okay, good. Now to distribute the rewards. The rewards are hereby being distributed. In 24 seconds, they'll be coming your way. All right, I'm seeing them. EO2 Dave, hauling them in. Purposeful. Due Diligence. FSH. Cynthia. Safety Net. Willie Fix-It. The All Flash. Hauling in those gold pills. Good for you. That's fantastic. I almost never win on my own show. Let's see. I got a gold pill. Hallelujah. Hey, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right. Let's see where we're at here. Let's see where we're at. Oh, top of the heap tonight. TL Spud sitting on the top of the mountain on his heels. Bad Zoot. Good for you, darling. Jayla 17 on the list again. Good to see you. Black Cat. Always good to have you in the crowd. Good to see you, darling. And Sleeping Stars, the hot dog lady, makes a return engagement to the luckiest followers list. Good for you guys. Thank you kindly to, let me shout out some names here. Lynn Winters, TL Spud, Bad Zoot, Sleeping Stars, John Rogers, Jayla 17, Syllabore, Black Cat, Willie Fixit, Artist 61. All these people donated lemons tonight to the program, and I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. I really do. Way to go. Dongs that are hot, says TL Spud. That is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. EO2 Dave, I hope you're doing great. Oh, hey, I'm gonna yoink that right there. Dave, EO2 Dave has a fantastic New Year's sticker over at Pilled Foxhole, and I just grabbed it. So as you guys know, typically on New Year's Eve, I host a 4-hour program going across the country as it turns midnight in each of the time zones. First the East Coast, then the Central, then Mountain, and then, of course, Pacific Coast time. I host a show, and we talk to people in each of the time zones as it turns to midnight in their area. I'm going to be doing that again this year. It'll be the fifth annual New Year's Eve show for Zoso Dude. I hope you will join us that evening. Please write it on your calendars. It's bound to be fun. It's bound to be a good time. I hope you can make it. I hope you got your lottery tickets because they're going to pull it in 2 minutes. They're going to pull the numbers in 2 minutes. Lord, may someone I know, let somebody I know become a billionaire tonight. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. All right, folks, I'm going to get on out of here. Time for me to boogie. On down the road. I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow. And I wish all of you a happy and healthy new year. Please come join me tomorrow. Please. Rock and roll. You're going to love it. The best classic rock ever laid to vinyl. That's what I do. That's my real calling. Take care, my friends. I will see you on the flip side.